Do you invite the divine into the mundane? And on the contrary, you might be wondering, what does that even mean? I'm Joanna Ashley with Everything for My Joy, and I'm here to give you some things to consider about your relationship with the divine. And this might sound different in the sense that this is non denominational. It doesn't matter if you're religious, it doesn't matter if you don't know what you believe, and maybe you're trying to find an answer. It applies across the spectrum because, as in whatever capacity, if you believe that there is a divinity in all of us, then this is for you. And the question is, do you invite the divine into the mundane of your life? And if so, what does that look like? And if you don't, maybe it's because you don't even know how to begin, which is where I was. I prior was raised in religion, and I chose to leave my religion, and I didn't know what was next. And I knew, and this applies to even like my family and friends who stayed religious and still are active in religion today, because I started exploring this question about the divine and how do you bring the divine into every aspect of your life? How do you incorporate it in your day to day? And it gave me this place of contemplation where I was realizing that even when I was religious, I didn't really have a great relationship with the divine, or it was always like in crisis scenarios. So, like when the sky was falling, or I was afraid, or things were hard or challenging, that's when like my prayers to God really became sincere, right? Like this is when things really got serious. And the divine did show up for me in those scenarios, but it was always like a crisis response that, when life was hard, that's ultimately when I would lean on or ask for support from the divine, from God, the universe, Allah, whatever your faith is or whatever you call it. I universally believe it's the same source, just we perceive it differently. And what I realized though is that I was a crisis divine inviter. So when life was hard and challenging, I was all about like, Hail Marys and prayers and things to try and get help from the divine. And I had a mentor who was helping me during this time of transition when I was trying to understand what is it that Joanna believes? What is it? How does life work? How does the universe work? And I felt very disconnected from God, which was a very hard thing to grasp because I felt like there was more, but I had no idea how to go about incorporating it in my life. And she asked me, she says, what do you do to involve the divine in your everyday life? And I contemplated on it and I really didn't have any idea. And I was like, I don't know how to. I don't know what this looks like except for maybe like prayers in the morning at night, but I don't know. And so she provided me a challenge, which was to bring the divine into every facet of my life. And I asked her to give me an example. What does this look like? What would that look like? And so one of the first few examples she gave me was in something as simple as folding clothes. And if you're a mother, I imagine you do laundry for your family, and it's a chore that's not loved by many, including me at the time. My laundry was known for being 9 baskets deep and 6 weeks behind because I hated doing laundry. And she says, start with laundry. She's like, you have this beautiful opportunity to bring the divine into this task in the sense that pray over the clothes for your family, pray over the clothes for your husband and your children, and ask blessings on their behalf. And so I started incorporating this, where as I was folding the clothes for my family, it became a chore, not a chore, but a blessing to have the space to pray over my husband and my children. And it wasn't necessarily even said aloud. Like these weren't like verbally stated prayers as much as in my mind and in my heart. As I folded these clothes, I prayed intention over them for my husband and children. So at the time, my daughter was dealing with some very hard school situations where she had another child who was creating a lot of conflict in her world, and it was very hard. And she was coming home very heartbroken over it. And so I started praying over her clothes and asking that as she wore them, that she would remember that how loved she was, and that she would feel her father's and my love for her, that she would feel cared for and protected, that she would feel supported. And it just became kind of like this mantra, this prayer that as I folded my daughter's laundry, I was imbuing into it this intention and bringing the divine to bless and bring this essence of goodness to her. With my husband and his work clothes, it was, I would be conscious of what was he working through at work, and was he having specific challenges? And I would ask for specific blessings upon him as he wore these clothes. And that was like for his work clothes, and his personal clothes, it was otherwise. And all of a sudden, the heaviness around laundry changed because it became this sacred space in my mundane life to bring the divine into everyday life. So then I started expanding it into doing dishes because I didn't love dishes either. And it was as I was doing the dishes, it was this mental internal prayer over of gratitude and appreciation and also love for the dishes, which was, you know, I'm grateful for these dishes that mean that my family is fed and nourished. I'm grateful for these dishes that my family was able to gather together and have another meal together. I'm grateful, for these dishes that my family can be well and fed well. And also sometimes there was prayers in there, please bless these dishes that they will be a source of providing us nutrition and healing and wholeness, especially if we'd had a bout of illness to our family. And then it became part of my routine is when I was getting ready in the morning, which was seeing the divine in myself and asking for help there. So as I was putting my mascara, or, like my eyeshadow and that on, there became a prayer, especially if I was having a hard time in life. Let's say I was seeing a challenge or issues that I really wasn't finding solutions for. It became a prayer to bless my eyes that they might see the solution. Bless my lips that I might be speaking kindness and love to those that I love. Because at the time I was also dealing with some anger issues, and I was short and quick to lash out. And so it was, bless my lips that I will speak words of love and kindness. Bless my ears that I will hear the goodness in the world, and it didn't require any more of my time, but this potency of bringing the divine into the mundane totally changed the course of my family and me, because all of a sudden the divine and God, the universe, it wasn't a crisis-based relationship. On the contrary, it became part of my everyday life. And there's so much potency there that when we're bringing the divine into the mundane, into the everything, what I began to see was that there wasn't like the crisis times anymore, or like if things came up, they didn't feel hard or heavy or impossible to address. They felt very manageable, that like all of a sudden I just had this peace that inherently accompanied even the most difficult situations. And that wasn't to mean that I didn't cry and I wasn't angry or wasn't frustrated, but that those periods of times to experience that were shortened so much because there was also this foundational knowing that would come through that it's like, okay, all will be well, all is well. And this place of inviting the divine to the mundane is the foundation to the life you want to live. It's the foundation to being the woman you want to be, the wife you want to be, the mother you want to be. If you're working in a career, your job. If you have your own business, this is the foundation to success in your business, is you invite the divine to be this potent co-creator in your life, and invite the divine, God, Heavenly Father, Allah, all of these things, however you want to call it, you're inviting the divine to be a key part of and influence in your life. And what this does too is it also increases your intuition, or that sacred connection with the divine, to receive insight that seems otherworldly at times, where it's like, I have no idea how I knew this, but I just know this is it, right? That inviting the divine to the mundane hones and builds up that connection to the divine, and it becomes second nature as you do this more frequently. And it can be applied to anywhere area in your life. If you have a career or a business,